Bob Doyle is the creator and facilitator of the revolutionary Wealth Beyond Reason online program. Wealth Beyond Reason is a complete curriculum on attracting wealth and prosperity, consisting of a library of e-books, hours of audio seminars, interviews, and coaching sessions. Bob creates lasting personal relationships with each of the program's participants and is committed to providing whatever distinctions are necessary to move you from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. An expert in demystifying the universal law of attraction, Bob has effectively impacted even the most die-hard skeptics and allows you to identify and release limiting beliefs and feelings and open the floodgates to unlimited abundance. In the short time I've known Bob, my appreciation for him and his work has grown daily. His book, Wealth Beyond Reason, and his online program of the same name, for me, has been invaluable. I love the systems he's put in place, and I've received a number of ahas since working with his material. I found myself opening up to even more possibilities and growth. In preparing for today's call, I did have a difficult time narrowing it down to a workable number of questions. You may find today will raise as many questions as it does give you answers. If this is the case, I do invite you to take advantage of Bob's online Wealth Beyond Reason program. I'm truly appreciative and grateful for this opportunity, and I'm honored to introduce you to Bob Doyle. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Velma. That's very nice of you to say. All of those wonderful things. Terrific introduction. I appreciate that, and I'm really happy that you're enjoying the material. And aren't those ahas so fun?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those, when I first started in this work, those are what really lit me up and kept me going. It's just that feeling of progress, and it's really what it is you're waking up to your true nature. You're sort of remembering things that you didn't even know you'd forgotten. And when things start to click in place, and what's really happening on sort of an energetic level there is you're really aligning with who you really are and what your real purpose is, and you're getting tastes of your potential, and it's a real physical sensation that goes along with those ahas, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it really, so it's not just like, oh, that's interesting. It's like, there's an actual shift occurs, and so it's very exciting, especially for people who, and there are a lot of them, who I hear from, who have been studying this type of work for a very long time, some of them several decades. I get emails all the time saying, oh, I've looked at this and that on the law of attraction, and I'm really interested in it, but I just haven't really made it work for myself yet. And then when I hear from them, like you just said, going through the program or reading the material and getting those ahas, I mean, it's so wonderful for them, because they had started really. What happens for people, and I know I'm rambling on here, but what happens for people is they get started on self-improvement. They have a goal, and they start down that road, and for various reasons, most of which are reasons that they don't know about, they don't have the results that they hope for. And so what happens is they chalk it up in some way to failing. This didn't work. And so they go on to the next one. And then they become a person who is, they shift from being a person who's committed to, improving themselves to a person who is committed to doing a bunch of programs. And so that's who they become. And so what they do is they attract all this great information, they attract all these great programs, but what they don't attract is results, because who they are is a person who does programs. Because they've lost sight of the possibility of being where they want to be with abundance or anything else in the now. It's always something they're going for in the future. And so as long as that is their predominant, feeling or belief, is that it's coming, I know it's coming because I'm doing all these programs, that is what's going to continue to be true for them. So when a person like that, who is really, they're somewhat jaded when they come into any program because of all the past, quote-unquote failures, when they start to get those ahas and see exactly why they've had the experiences that they've had, in previous programs, it's very exciting for them, and then, of course, for me to hear about it.
Great. Well, actually, I started out on that path, and actually what I ended up doing for myself was giving myself permission to pick up one or two things that really fit for me. Mm-hmm. And then I've received something from the program, I'm learning, I'm moving forward, I'm growing.
Right.
And I found that actually did make a difference for me, because I find I end up picking up just a few more ahas than I anticipate.
Yeah, when you can really just allow yourself to go with the flow and not try and, force anything. You can't force results like this, because, if you've got, most of what we determine our results or success is because we're comparing it to what other people think is results and success. Like it's a dollar amount or something. Well, if I can generate this amount of money, I'll call this program a success. and you've got your eye on completely the wrong thing when you're doing that, especially if it's money, which we'll definitely talk about, I'm sure, this hour. You know, chasing after the money is the problem, is the biggest slowdown that most people have, which is, you know, it's ironic since we're talking about abundance, but it's just that when people are chasing after money, they're very, very clear in their feeling and in their emotions that they don't currently have it. And that's what they're feeling, no matter how excited they are about getting money, or, you know, what they should be thinking about is what are they going to do with that money.
I'm going to pause you right there because I do have that as one of my questions.
Okay.
We're going to start out with the first question that I've really enjoyed putting to each and every one of my speakers, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what your answer to it is.
Okay.
What is the single most valuable lesson you've learned about abundance, and what makes that so valuable for you?
Well, you know, I'm great at complicating things, as well as good as I am about simplifying them. But in this particular instance, there's so many facets to abundance. You know, it's like, well, the most important thing I've learned about abundance is that there's an abundance of everything, and it's not just the good stuff. You know, there's an abundance of, and this sounds like, you know, it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but there is an abundance of lack. But lack isn't real. It's just there's an abundance of people experiencing lack. There is an abundance of bad feelings out there, but there's also an abundance of great feelings. There's also an abundance of experiencing great wealth on many, many different levels. The thing is that there's as much of anything as we will allow into our life. It's about what will we choose to allow. Most people are allowing mediocrity, or they're allowing beliefs in lack, and so they're getting lack in abundance. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if you can understand that you literally, on a physical level, attract an abundance of whatever it is you're attracting, you know, what's valuable about that is that you then understand how you can change it and attract an abundance of something else. You know, some people attract an abundance of bad luck, an abundance of, you know, one nasty thing after the other. There's an abundance of it. There's as much as they allow, and a lot of people allow a lot. But since they don't know that they're attracting it, they don't understand what they're doing. They think they're doing everything right. They're doing the programs. They're following the steps, but they're still attracting a lack of results in this case because of what we talked about before. Their mind, what they're overall feeling, what they're vibrating, their magnet is saying, I'm not having success. Why am I not having success? I'm doing everything, and yet I'm not having success. And I get questions like that all the time. The wording of the question tells the answer right there. I'm doing the books, I'm reading, I'm making the lists, I'm doing the meditations, and I'm not having results. And this always happens to me. And it's those last two sentences that just tell me everything. You know, they're not allowing results. If you want abundance, it is there. If you want monetary abundance, for example, it's there. You have to allow it. So our program and everything that we talk about is about how to allow. You know, a lot of people, there's plenty of, you know, material out there about the law of attraction, and a lot of people tell you the step-by-steps on how to do it, and that's great. But I was one of those people who was always frustrated with doing programs and not getting results. So when I was able to understand the distinction of what separated the people from, you know, the people who get results from the people who don't, even though they're working off the same information. Okay, and I was able to turn around it for myself. I was so passionate about waking everybody else up to saying, look, this is what you know, this is how you have to change your thinking, change your feeling. It's not just about the steps you're taking, you know, the actions that you're taking. It's on a much deeper level. You can have everything you want and take zero action. If you're really, if you are completely vibrationally aligned with what it is that you want, that's when miraculous things can occur. But for most people, that's not how it's going to occur because, you know, especially here in the West, we're just not open to that kind of thing. Instant manifestation and things like that, wave a wand and boom. You know, we live in a universe of energy and infinite possibility. Anything is possible. Do I believe that instant manifestation is possible? Absolutely. And it happens to us all on smaller scales, but we don't really pay any attention to it. You know, when we're completely in a state of allowance for something, it just occurs, and we don't think twice about it because it seems natural. And you see, if we could all understand that anything like that is the big things are just as natural as the small things, and we could always be in a state of allowance and get rid of all the resistance that we have about wonderful things happening, or that this thing is harder for the universe to manifest than this thing, then we could truly, basically, we're living a dream. We're living whatever it is that whatever we choose to be in vibrational resonance with.
Great. Okay. I'm pulling out these questions from your book, Wealth Beyond Reason.
Okay.
And I now have a copy with a lot of yellow marks in it.
Mm-hmm.
I like doing that because then I can go back and pick out things that I find were important to me and review them. Within your first chapter, what is wealth and why do we really want it? I really enjoyed some of the things that came out there, and it was actually the first couple of sentences that I really want to address here. One of the reasons many of us have problems related to wealth is that we're all hung up about the money. We have erroneously equated having wealth with having money. One of the most important distinctions you can make is that money is merely a symbol of value. Can you speak a bit more about that symbol?
Sure. We exchange money to get stuff. That's something that's very common. We can all understand that. We believe it. We have physical evidence of it, and so on and so forth. But all we're really doing is saying, here, Mr. Car Dealer, you are requesting this much value from me, and I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to give me this car. The thing is that, that's one way for you to give over value. And money is like everything else in the universe, is an energy system. It has the only reason it has meaning whatsoever is that we all have made an agreement that this money has value. You take somebody who has no clue what money is or anything like that, and they're just looking at it as pieces of paper. We have feelings about it. It's very emotional. It's we have a lot of attachment to money because we've learned about it. A lot of people think it's the only way to get anything. Well, you can't, and they completely overlook things like, gifts or even bartering or whatever. I mean, the point is there's an infinite number of ways that things can occur to get you to your desire. The problem is because we all have these emotional attachments to money, or these beliefs like there's only a certain amount, or there's a limited amount, there's not enough to go around, or I can't make it and I can't keep it, or any of those other things. When they start this work in the law of attraction and they start going for the money, well, they've got all those negative beliefs and feelings about it to deal with. And it's not really the money they want anyway, because the money is really valueless unless you do something with it. It doesn't do anybody any good. I mean, you can put it in the bank and it can gain interest, but you're just still gaining more money. What are you going to do with it? What is it that you truly want? What is your core desire? What is motivating you to want that money? Now, when your attention is on that, then you can bypass all the negative or limiting beliefs that you have about money and really get into, and I use the term vibrational resonance, and I want to talk about what that means, with what you truly want. Maybe it's the car, but I would still say the car isn't the end result either. All these things, the stuff generally is, you want this stuff because it generates a feeling inside you. It could be freedom, it could be, self-confidence, it could be, love, whatever. These things that people want, they want because it generates some sort of a feeling in their body, an emotional response. And if a person can't generate an emotional response about something, they haven't yet hit their core desire. And that's something that, I talk about a lot. But the point is that if you put your attention, if you put your feelings around what you truly want to feel as a result of getting the money to get the thing or whatever, you bypass all the negative stuff that you have beliefs about and just sit in that feeling. And it's that feeling of I have it now, not I want it someday or I want it after I get the money, but I have it now. That's what is shifting your personal energy, if you will, and bringing that feeling to you in the most efficient way possible. Now, the thing is that when you get into vibrational resonance with something, let's say it's this feeling of love or whatever it is. Let's even just, for an example, use a thing like a car. Let's say that you want a car, a new car, and it really lights you up. It's a Mercedes, blah, blah, blah. You want that car. If you can get into the feeling of driving that car around and really touching it and knowing what that little emblem's going to look like, as you look out the windshield and everything that means to you. What is that? Is it pride of accomplishment? Whatever that is. If you can sit inside that feeling by visualizing that car or whatever, you're changing your personal energy and you're becoming more of a magnet. Now, if you get stuck on how am I ever going to get the however many thousands of dollars to get that car, well, you're taking an unnecessary step. Now, here's the thing. People say, well, you're going to have to use money to get the car. Well, first of all, that's not necessarily true. Or I'm sorry, I think I said that in reverse. You're going to need money to get the car. Number one, that's not necessarily true. And number two, it's not your problem if it is. If money is the most efficient means to that end, that is what the universe will deliver. That is what you will attract. Okay, but you don't have to worry about it. The money will come. Now, people are just like, huh? How? What? But that's the fact. So they say, well, why can't you just get vibrationally aligned with the money? And I'm just trying to tell you that most people are chasing money because they are experiencing a lack of it. And so when they think about that, they're very, very fully immersed in this feeling of lack, and so they attract more lack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that it's impossible to attract money on purpose, because it certainly is not impossible. But for most people, it is a major slowdown. I really need the money to pay the bills, Bob. I mean, they're not going to pay themselves. Okay, then sit inside of the feeling of the bills being paid, not how you're going to get the money. The other thing is that when you start thinking about the money, your mind is going to automatically, logically try to figure out ways that the universe can deliver. Now, some people are very narrow-minded, and they say, well, I'm going to use the law of attraction to have money come to me through increased sales in my business. Okay, so that's one out of an infinite number of ways that the universe can deliver that this person has decided to latch on to. And so they're going to ignore or basically have resistance toward virtually every other possibility that there is. If a person doesn't have any attachment to how the money comes to them, or better yet, forgets all about the money and goes right to the other thing, to the thing they want to do with the money, well, then the universe has an infinite number of delivery systems. So it's really just about learning to allow. And
because if you open yourself up to, like, say, for example, that car, and you do let go of how you're going to get it, you could win it in a contest, you could find out about one that's for sale for half price.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And those things, and that happens all the time. It happens all the time, and most of the time it's in ways that a person could never have thought of. They never, because they have no access to know that this person knows this person who really wants to just get rid of the car. It doesn't matter how much, But when you can understand, see, for a lot of people, it's stuff that sounds good and all that, but they need to understand it more. In other words, they get it, they hear what I'm saying, they've heard other people say it before, but intellectually they're still skeptical because they don't have any firsthand experience of it, or it just hasn't been explained to the level of detail that it's going to be necessary to have it explained to them so that they can have their ahas. And that was me. Until I found the book that's, in the Wealth Beyond Reason program, which is A Happy Pocket Full of Money, that really got into the physics of this. Why does this work? Not, that it does work and just believe me, but here's how, on a level of quantum physics, this works. Without, spinning my head out of control and boggling my mind, I was able to finally understand why I was where I was and how I can go where I need to go. Now, it didn't happen overnight, because I, like most people, have a lifetime of limiting belief systems. But I did commit. When I got my aha, I committed that I would never quit and I would stay consistent every day. And that's what a lot of people don't do. They'll try it for a week and say, well, that didn't work. Disregarding the fact that they've got years and years of energy systems, very real programs running, if you will, that have resistance all over the place that they need to deal with. They need to learn how to release that. And a lot of it's just going to be through study. It's going to be through trying things. It's going to be through having small little manifestations occur for them where, that don't seem so important, that they don't attach themselves to. So for some reason they could have a click and just manifest like crazy the next day. Other people, it might take a little while. But everything is okay and appropriate. And anything is better than not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That touches quite a bit on your next chapter, which is why are we skeptical and what is the cost?
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of things you said in there that stood out for me. Your reality, the reality that you've attracted by your beliefs, thoughts, and feelings, you can support just about any belief or disbelief you have.
That's right.
The only reason you do not have everything you want in your life right now is because you are resisting it to some degree.
That's right.
Flip the page here. And you spoke a little bit about that resistance in the word wanting. The word want, and more importantly, the feeling that's associated with the word, suggests an experience of lack. You want it because you don't have it.
Right.
Can you speak a bit more about want and maybe perhaps some other things that we might use as forms of resistance?
Well, think about, you just pick anything in your room that you know that you have right now. There is no feeling of want associated with it whatsoever. It is a full knowing that it's yours because you're looking at it. It's right there. If you can generate that same sort of feeling for something that you can't currently see, you'll have it. But as long as you have this, as long as your predominant feeling is, boy, I really want that thing, you're just simply vibrating that you don't have it, and that is what you will continue to have. And you may get so close, so close to having it, but you're still resisting it by this, I want it so bad. The feelings that you have, the magnet that you've turned on, the universe is very specific. It's very accurate. It responds completely appropriately to what you're putting out there. It doesn't try and figure out, well, I think what he's really trying to say is this, no. It's a lot of people have this idea that the universe decides, and it's a very popular thing for people to say in the law of attraction work, is the universe will decide when and where you'll get what you want, as if there's some panel up there, saying, well, I don't know if now's appropriate for, Bob, but maybe in a week, we'll let him hold out a little bit longer. It's not like that. It responds to you. It's an energy system. There's not this human factor in there that we think of judging anybody's wants or desires. It's not like that at all. If it's slow to come, it's because we are slow to allow it. Because maybe it's just so foreign to us. Maybe we don't know how to allow it. Maybe we're not fully clear on what the impact it would have, or maybe we do. Maybe we have this idea that we'd love to have $1 million or whatever, but man, the taxes on that, and how would I even manage that? And see, these are the sub-conversations that are the resistance. Well, how would I maintain that? If I got it once, could I maintain it? Do I want to deal with that? There's all those questions. Until you can become fully allowing of this thing that you want, it will continue to be at bay. Or you're going to get it in a form that you don't like, which is the other thing. Some people take this work so seriously that there's this whole tone of being serious about their desire. So then they get their desire, but that feeling of seriousness is still associated with it. It might be those things like, well, now I got to pay the insurance on this car or whatever. You have to lighten up and be clear on how do you truly want to feel. If you truly want this car, you also want it to be easily paid for. You want it to be insured. You don't want to think about it. You want to just drive it. You want to have no negative association with it whatsoever as you're creating this vision for yourself, as you're aligning your vibration. Because that's if you have negative stuff attached to it, you will attract that. You can't not. You are your own filtering system. So that's why we do so many things like writing down, your desires, so that you can be clear on exactly what form you want these things to take. If you just default back to, I want $1 million, without really thinking it through as to whether or not you truly want that, or maybe it's something else, it just slows things down so much when you get too intellectual about it. We're not here to figure all this stuff out. We're here to experience our full human potential, and this is part of it. This ability to, we have this we're in this tremendous, wonderful place. We are both spiritual and physical at the same time. We're both this sort of non-physical energy, where at a quantum level, you would just see nothing, okay? And we have this incredible range of sensory and imagination and all these things in the physical. And most of us aren't utilizing, we're living in reaction. We're not taking advantage of the ability that we have to attract into our experience what we truly want. And our desires are here for a reason. Our desires are very unique. We all share some, people share some desires. Maybe there's a whole bunch of people who want Mercedes, but those same people may not want the same kind of house as the other, or want to express themselves in certain ways. We're here to contribute fully the value that we have to give, and that we don't do that by thinking small or putting limits on what we have or what we think that we can accomplish or anything. We can do, have, be anything that we desire as long as we allow it. But that resistance will stop us, and a lot of it sits in that wanting thing. But we've learned to want. I mean, it's not surprising that we want. We don't know how to not want. That's the biggest problem. Well, if we don't have it, then we must want it, right? Well, or you could step over into this line of thinking and be that you have it as much as you can. You know, that's what the experiential meditation that we talked about before the call is about. It's about taking you from a chaotic sort of experience of your day-to-day, quote-unquote, real life, removing you from that for at least just 15 minutes and getting you into a vibrational state that you have what you want already. Not that you want it, not that it's coming, you know, not that you're working on it or this program's going to get it for you, but that you have it right now. Because as to the extent that you can do that, you will be attracting it. So the key is to try and maintain that attraction as consistently as possible for as often as possible as you can. That's what I'm saying. You have to make this a lifestyle. You have to decide. If you really want the law of attraction to work for you, you have to decide that you're going to live inside of it all the time. You're going to live inside those distinctions all the time. You're going to be, you know, not overly aware of you don't want to watch everything you're thinking, but recognize that whatever your outward experience is a direct reflection of what's going on inside you. So if something happens to you that you don't like, realize that you allowed it. Not necessarily that you created it, that it's this terrible thing that you created, but that you allowed it into your experience, and you can choose at this time to not allow that anymore. You know, what would your life be like free from this type of experience? You know, it takes some tweaking for a while. I mean, it's something that even though it's our nature, we're having to return to it. And because we are intellectual beings and we like the educational process, or we're used to it and we're used to taking this step and this step and this step, you know, it is a process for most people. It's not something they just flip a switch and then just, you know, suddenly have everything they want, even though that's entirely possible at a physical level. But, you know, we've got a lot of tangled up wires in our heads right now. And
if you want it bad enough, you can get it.
Yes, right. If you want it bad enough, you'll never get it. That's the real truth. I mean, now there's a distinction. Now, I use the word want. I can't say across the board that a person who uses the word want isn't going to get what they say they want. It's about what they're personally vibrating, what I'm saying around that word. What I'm saying is some people use want as just a word to mean it's their desire, it's what they intend. It's, you know, I'm not saying it's an evil word, but for the most part, you certainly don't want to be affirming to yourself over and over, I want this, I want this, I want this. You want to be in a space of feeling that you have it, you have it, you have it. So, I mean, want isn't, I'm not saying that if anybody uses the word want, they won't get their desires, because clearly that's not true. People will want something and then they'll manifest it. That's fine, but it's just, what are they really feeling about that word want? What's going on a more intangible level that will decide the results?
I think the more intense the desire, the more intense the emotion comes around that word. Like if it's something small like I want a book, you're not going to get all bent out of shape about I want that book.
Right. And if a person could understand that a book truly is no different than a Mercedes in terms of how the universe delivers it. I mean, look, if you were to, you know, be the Hubble telescope or something and zoom in, or take where you are right now, that everything seems so big and so real and so huge and so significant, and just sort of zoom back, I don't know, off the country, off the continent, out of the, you know, off the planet, out of the solar system, blah blah blah, and just kind of look, you realize just how insignificant, how not big our hugest desire is in the face of the universe. And you would also, while you're out there spiraling around in space, see all these incredible physical miracles that we could not possibly explain. So when you just really get that you trying to figure out the universe isn't something you're designed to do, but we can utilize it. We can take advantage of the systems that are already in place. You know, then you release the burden off of yourself and allow just a little bit more miracles to happen in your life.
Okay, great. My next question, actually, it touches from the chapter You Are Energy. You vibrate and magnetize. Your energetic vibrations act like magnets to similar energetic vibrations. It is your thoughts and emotions that dictate what you are vibrating, and thus what you are magnetizing. There are no good and bad to the law of attraction. Those are strictly our personal judgments based on our core beliefs. The law of attraction simply responds perfectly to what you vibrate. The trouble is that as as a society, we have learned to vibrate negatively. Our idea of reality is that life is hard and that you must work hard for the things that you want.
Mm-hmm.
We have been taught that sometimes having good relationships means compromising who we really are to make it work, because the law of attraction will bring you more and more situations that are in vibrational alignment with your thoughts, beliefs, and most of all, your feelings. Now, I pulled sections out of a full page of information, but can you talk a little bit more about how our thoughts and emotions affect what we magnetize to ourselves, and a little bit about, where was it? Personal judgments and core beliefs. There, that's a big question.
Yeah, it's huge, and I'm not sure that I can quickly address it fully, but first of all, you have to understand that anyone's experience is just really, it's a series of interpretations. The exact same person can be or two people can be in the exact same spot, experience the exact same series of events, and have completely different interpretations on them. Okay? Mm-hmm. One could be uplifted and one could be sad. A movie's a good example. Sometimes people leave movies, if it's a serious movie, they might leave, depressed or sad, while another person watching the same film is inspired by the cinematography or whatever, and doesn't even allow the sadness into their psyche, okay? But and it's those types of interpretations on those emotional levels which affect your overall vibrations, even just from a practical standpoint, okay? Even if you take the quantum physics and the complexities of that out of it, just on a logical basis, if you're a person who emotionally stays low, how are you going to attract a person or such a series of situations that is excited about lifting you up? Nobody likes to be around a person who's down all the time. I mean, that's just real simple. Now, that's really the law of attraction happening. You've got two very different vibrational energies, and they're simply resisting themselves. We experience that on the physical level as, I just don't like that person. That person brings me down. But they're just vibrating something that you resist. You ever just walk into a room and find you meet somebody and instantly you just get that feeling?
Yes.
Well, there's a couple of things that I could comment on that. One is you need to get rid of that and allow that person to your experience, because you have to understand that you attracted that person. But the point is that you're feeling real energy there. You've activated an energy system, or something in them has activated that in you. But it is also important to notice that you have attracted that person, and how you feel about things is a reflection of you more than it is of them. The movie, for example, is just the movie. It is what it is. How you interpret it is based on who you are and what you vibrate. And your friend has a different set of life experiences and interprets things his way. So two totally different realities in the same space. And then where they go from each of those moviegoers, where they go after the movie, is going to be totally different too. The guy who's down is going to go home and feel sorry for himself tonight, and the other guy is going to, maybe get inspired to make a movie and create a future for himself, in movie making, because he was so impressed with the cinematography on this one. I mean, just two of an infinite number of possibilities there. But, it's to look at this on just a practical level rather than getting into the physics of it, because, I mean, it's just, that can really truly get mind-boggling. But the way that you interpret things emotionally will affect your vibration, which even just on the basic physical level will affect how people react to you. It will affect how you interpret the next set of sequence or events in your life, and what you'll do with them as they present themselves. The person who left the movie all happy and excited about their future career in cinematography may, let's say they might both go to a bar afterward or whatever, and this guy meets somebody who's in the movie industry, whereas the other person's feeling so sorry for themselves they don't notice anything. It's all energy, but it's also very logical when you look at it. Be who you want to be, and you'll attract the situations to sustain that. But if you be who you don't want to be, like this sad guy, he doesn't want to be sad, but he's not. But he's being a sad person. He's just putting that energy out there, and like a magnet, those energies that are in vibrational resonance with. I use the example of a tuning fork in the book. If you get two of the same tuning forks and you tap one and it's vibrating and get it close enough to the other one, it will start to vibrate on its own without you tapping it. That's the energy, that's the frequencies getting and resonating with each other. That's a great sort of example of how the law of attraction works. Now, we're sort of like tuning forks in that way. We vibrate some frequency, and thus we attract similar frequencies. We activate them in our lives. We activate them in our experience, just like the tuning fork activates the other one. Does that in any way answer your question?
Yes, it definitely does.
Okay.
It definitely does. I would like to have touched on core beliefs, but I don't think we have enough time for that one. I think that one would be a whole other hour.
Yeah, because they're in there pretty deep. Core desire is a more important. If you look at if a person looks at their core, and I'll just say this briefly, I don't really know how much time we have, but if a person concentrates on their core beliefs, they're usually concentrating on stuff that's limiting them. Well, I've got a core belief that there's not enough money in there. Well, they can sit there and try and analyze where that came from, or work around it, or whatever. And there are certainly ways that I would recommend that they do that rather than just trying to figure it out, because the more energy you put on that thing, the bigger it gets. Instead, it's more important to identify your core desires. Instead of thinking about the things that limit you or what you don't want, get really clear on what you do want and get into the space of feeling what those core desires are. The people who I had a question in the last month's coaching seminar about, I don't know. Now that let's see, what was it was the first question in the seminar, but it was about now that I know what I wanted, now that I know what my purpose is in life, the things like the dream car seem to cloud my vibration, and or bring it down a notch, and that's a wonderful distinction for this person to make. They probably had the dream car idea because everybody else has it. It seems logical to get a nice car, but it's not a core desire for this person. A core desire is their life's work. Now, as a result of doing their life's work, that car might just show up because it's just part of their vision, but it's not a part that they're attached to. But if the universe finds it efficient to deliver that, then it will, and it'll just add to the joy of the experience. But the real attention, the real energy is around the core desire, which is generally going to be about expressing yourself, being who you are, feeling passionate, feeling on purpose. And all the stuff in our lives should help us to do that, should facilitate that. For some people, the needs will be simple. If you're an artist and you truly just want to express your art, well, you don't need the $1 million mansion, you don't need the Mercedes, and you don't need $1 million in the bank. You need a nice paint set and some time and enough money to sustain that to the extent that you want to be sustained. Whereas another person might, their goal is to set up, corporations all over the world that help people do, et cetera, something that would require, I guess, more resources. Okay, so they are going to naturally attract things like money and means of travel and business relationships and things like that. So that's their idea of wealth, whereas another person's idea of wealth is a good set of paint. Then that's why we can't just say wealth is this or wealth is a dollar amount. Wealth is what makes you feel wealthy. Because anything past that, if you try and stretch it, if you try and create a desire for wealth that you don't have, well, you're going to run into resistance. Now, your comfort zone might grow, and hopefully it will, as you start. Like some people think very small at first. Well, if I could just get another $50 a week so I could, pay the rent on time, that'd be fine. Well, my work is not about having people just get by. It's about living abundantly. Dream as big as they want and have that, because all that's possible. Now, a person's biggest dreams may not be as big as another person's dreams, and that's fine, because we're not all here to do the same stuff and get the same things and do the same work. So wealth is extremely relative.
Oh, definitely. One person might think that they want this great, big, huge, beautiful house, and the next person thinks, I don't want that. I'd have to clean it.
Right. Well, and obviously that's true, and that would be huge. And a lot of times the same people who want the house, as I alluded to before, who really want the house and they're working on the house and they got lists around the house, still have the idea that, well, I got to clean it. They haven't let go of that. They haven't worked into their vision that it's taken care of by somebody else or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's funny how some people will, and this was me too at the beginning, is like, well, it was okay for me, and I mentioned the $1.7 million house in the book. That was okay when I first started doing this. That was okay, but somehow looking at a $3 million house was like too much. It's interesting. How is, given where I was when I first started all this, the difference between 1.7 million and 3 million it's a joke. I mean, they were both way out of my comfort zone at that time. But it's just funny how people's minds work, Mm-hmm. And when they can identify that, it's really about just those distinctions of getting just how infinite the universe is and how You know, it really is just all energy, and that there is no magic here. You don't have to just stretch all sorts of belief systems to make this work. And in fact, it's about eliminating belief systems that makes this work. The reason we call it wealth beyond reason is because, well, twofold. One, as I say in the book, is that it's unreasonable amount. It is unreasonable how much wealth you can attract when you really lock into using the law of attraction. And you have to suspend reason. You have to suspend logic because it's not serving us anymore. You know, in fact, it's really counterproductive for most people because they like this idea, but like I said before, they just have to have it all figured out for themselves, and we can't. You know, we don't have the capacity to outsmart or know more than something as infinite as the universe. We can tap into all the knowledge that it has to offer, but we're not going to be smarter than the universe.
That sounds a lot like ego getting involved.
Yeah, the ego, well, now there's another seminar.
Definitely.
The ego is all about control and being right, and it's one of the major slowdowns. You know, it's what tells you, hey, you're reaching your comfort zone, you know, back off. The ego would rather fail and be right, saying, I knew this wouldn't work, than to allow you to succeed and be out of its comfort zone and to feel out of control. And that's what happens so much.
Definitely. We've actually got just over 5 minutes left. So I just want to ask one quick question, and hopefully we can keep it. I'm asking one of the ones that is quick. The next chapter is, what do you really want? It's not the money, it's really not.
Right.
The key to getting what you want is knowing how to ask. How do you ask?
Well, that's the getting into the vibrational alignment.
Okay.
Asking, it can start with just a question. It could be in the form of a prayer. It could be in the form of writing things down. It could be in the form of meditation. There are lots of different techniques for doing that, quote-unquote, asking. But basically what you're doing is expressing to the universe that you are ready to receive this. And to do that, you have to do whatever it takes to get you into vibrational alignment with it. For some people, it is meditation. For some people, it's making these lists or it's cutting out pictures from magazines and creating fun collages. You know, but it's basically, it's still always going to be about creating a very positive, energizing feeling around this desire, so that you feel what you're going to feel when you have it. You know, for as long as you can do that. And that's how you ask.
Great. Okay. Well, I guess the last thing to do is I just want to open it up for just a few seconds and see if anybody in the audience did have a question that came out of what we discussed today.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. I just wanted, this is Newt in Los Angeles.
Newt?
Yes. And I just really wanted to say, Bob, is it?
Yes.
I have to respectfully disagree with you on one thing.
Okay.
You said there's no magic, and there's certainly an abundance of magic in what you said today and in everything.
Well, I appreciate that. Obviously, what I mean by that, obviously, is that, you know, the universe is this, it seems magical to us in comparison with what we know is reality. But it's not really, I guess by magic it means it suggests something unnatural, something that, you know, not everybody has access to doing. It seems like magic because we've been conditioned to learn that anything that happens that wonderfully, or that we could attract something so magnificent, you know, or anything like that, would have to be magical. But it really is science. It really is physics at work in our life. And, you know, it occurs to us as magic, and we can delight in it as magic, and it's okay to call it magic, but I'm just saying that when it comes right down to it, it's really our natural state. But thank you.
Thank you very much. I pride myself on my listening, on my listening skill that I've developed, and you challenged me today because you got me so stirred up. My mind is just racing all over the place.
I hope it's in a good way.
It's in a very good way.
Okay, good.
Okay, well, we have like about 3 minutes left. So, Bob, did you have any closing remarks or closing offers or anything like that that you wanted to state?
Well, I mean, my problem is that once I get started on closing, it's hard to get me to stop. But I mean, I was really excited about having this conversation with you because obviously I'm extremely passionate about this, because I'm a person who, like many of our students, has spent years and years and years seeking And there's nothing wrong with seeking as long as you eventually find some aspect of what you're looking for, you know. And we're all seeking, like I said. It really comes down to a feeling. When we know that we're satisfied with something and we get a feeling and we can sit and enjoy it, we can bask in it and so on. And when we're not in that state that we want to be in emotionally, we go seeking it. We go trying to find out what it's going to be. Is it going to be money? Is this car going to bring me the feeling? Is it this technique? Is it the law of attraction? What is it? So people are seeking and seeking and seeking. And what I'm saying is that I, as a lifetime seeker, am absolutely sure that the understanding of the law of attraction is everything you need to know. Because everything else you could possibly want in your life you can attract by just understanding how you want it to make you feel. It's so simple. It's so powerful, you know, and no other self-improvement product, program, whatever, including ours, is going to work if you resist it. If you are a person who is unclear on what they truly want, you know, it's once you know truly what your core desires are, how you want to feel in your life, then it's just a matter of, you know, sort of clearing away a little bit of the clutter and getting into that space of generating that feeling, and then you'll start to realize it. It's just that simple.
Perfect. And that about wraps us up. I guess we'll see you all next week with Living Abundant Joy, and have a fabulous and abundant week.
Thanks, Velma.
Bye.